Hello everyone, enough of that nice weather, let's go back to a dingy garage, So it's been 2 races now since I last did a talking head video, and they've been 2 really good races actually. First one was Donington, decent weather, like not too bad at all really, and we ended up just having a race long battle, a Lotus 7 that's in my class, and also a Lotus Europa, and yeah, that went on race long until sort of right at the end. I just got beaten by, I think, less than half a second over the finish line. So although I didn't win it, it was a really good race actually. Car performed beautifully, and it was nice close racing and no incidents. I think maybe just a little bit. And yes, I haven't polished my car yet. Second race was weekend just gone. That was down at Brands Hatch. Stupidly hot, which is nice until you get in your overalls and get in a car and have to race for 25 minutes. So that was pretty hard work. I managed to get myself into a little bit of a sort of a gap between cars, so I actually had a free run for most of it until an MGB managed to clear its throat and sort of pulled me back in, and I ended up having a good few laps actually trying to chase him down again. I did get past him on a tighter part of the circuit, and then on the straight he just drove straight past me again. So again, good race though. So I was expecting at the start of this year to be doing a lot more of these videos as I go and fix the car, but fingers crossed, touch wood, at this moment it's running really well still, which is a surprise. So the things that I've done since I last spoke to you is essentially oils. So different people say different things about oil, when you should do it, how often you should do it, what to check, that sort of thing. I tend to do it, say 4 races, something like that, change the oil. I'm pretty good, because the Vixen runs a dry sump. It's actually a big dry sump, so I run with about 6 litres of oil. The normal sump on these cars is about 4, so I actually have a very good supply of oil. So in my own head, I tend to think that I can get away with it a little bit longer, because the oil won't degrade as much because it's not getting used as much because there's more of it. That being said, you do need to change the oil, because the viscosity changes every time it goes through heat cycles, and also with these engines being basically new, you do get little bits, shards of metal, things like that from when it's fresh, and it just basically beds itself in. You don't want those pumping round and round and round, so it's always worth doing. So for an oil change on a dry sump, you do have a small sump plug on the dry sump that you can take out, and it has a little mesh on these cross flows. That will only drain out a handful of oil that's been left in the pan after you turned off the engine though. The majority of it is obviously in the dry sump. So the dry sump's there. You could get something that will suck it out or pump it out from there. What I actually went for in the end to make my life easy, because if it isn't easy, you don't do it. It's quite simple. So what I've actually got, I'll get a light, is I actually had one of the bottom connections, which is the suction pipes, it's not on the high pressure side, is actually within the car. So what you'll find down here, I actually have the connection sat there. So you'll notice the little square of tape. That is actually a panel that I can take off that just goes straight through to the floor outside. So I undo the nut on there, and it will actually drain that oil out straight underneath the car, just into sort of an oil catcher basically, so that I can just leave draining overnight. It doesn't really matter. So that's cool. So I change that. The oil that I replace it with, if I can find any, is this stuff. So it's Valvoline VR1 20W50. Just recommended to me really from the Crossflow lot that's a good oil to use. I don't know, it seems to lubricate things fine. I get good pressure, it doesn't lose too much pressure when it's hot, so that's cool. The next one is gearbox oil. So the gearbox has a drain on the bottom, so you just undo that, it comes out. For filling, down here, just down in between that gap, if I get this torch on it again, you'll see there's actually a plug there. So that is actually to fill it back up. So what you do is take that out, which is just like an interference fitting that gets tighter, so don't over tighten it. But yeah, you undo that and put oil in it until essentially it starts flowing back out. And that is your, so the hole into the gearbox is actually the oil level as well. So fill it up till then. It doesn't take much, a litre and a bit, something like that. And then put the nut back in. Again, for that, it's probably better to use, but I just use Comma gear oil. It's just like a mineral oil. Seems to work fine with the box. I mean, maybe there's something better I should be using, but it's a standard gearbox, so there's no straight cut gears or anything fancy like that in there. It's just a normal gearbox. So I presume that oil's fine. I've not had a problem so far. And then the last one is the diff. British Leyland, being who they are and seem to have great ideas, don't put a drain on the diff, which is madness. Why don't you do that? So really all I do is check its levels. Sometimes I do suck a bit out to see what the oil's like, but essentially I just top it up during the season. Then at the end of the season, take the diff out and actually tip it up to empty it out. It's an absolute pain. Why? Some people think of put actual drains on there as a modification. I haven't done it, but probably a good idea. So that's the oils. They're simple to do and keeps your engine in good condition. Next thing I did was scrutineering. The regs say you need 4 throttle return springs, basically for safety. If your throttle snaps, it'll shut on its own, that sort of thing. I read that then as having, I've got 2 external ones, and then the carbs themselves have the internal springs that haven't been taken out. But speaking to scrutineers, they basically say they can't check that. And if one snaps, you can't check that either, which, okay, that's a fair comment actually. So what I've ended up doing, on the carbs themselves, you've got a sort of a spindle on each of the carbs that goes through the butt flies. So on the end, I've actually attached this. So these were actually, if you go and Google sort of throttle return spring kit or something for Webbers, it's actually a bar that goes across here and then sticks up and comes out, and so the spring is actually here. The problem I've got is that actually coming up, it hits my bonnet, and then on this side, because of my throttle return spring sort of mechanism that I've got anyway, it's meant to fit there, so it doesn't even fit. So what I actually ended up doing is using the kit with that piece that goes on and then the springs, but cutting essentially with the end of that bar, drilling it out and just adding it to the end of there. I've stretched these springs a little bit just so they're not too tight, because it makes the pedal a lot stiffer. So now I've actually got those 2 return springs there. So essentially now it's directly onto the spindle. So if these snap and everything else goes wrong, these will actually still pull those throttles shut, which is good. I mean, it's a safety thing and also a money thing. If your throttle snaps and those throttles stay open, you're generally going to be pretty quick at putting your foot in on the clutch to actually stop the car running away. But then all that happens is your engine goes pop. So Last thing, because of my close racing, and because it seems like I like to just basically draft the car in front as much as possible, I picked up a fair bit of damage. So that is my old headlight. So it's just had a stone straight through it. Luckily you don't get glass everywhere because you have tape across it, but it smashed my headlight. So what I've actually done, when I built the car, I decided to use mini headlights because they're the same size, readily available, dirt cheap. And so when I rang Mini Sport, they actually do polycarbonate versions. So these are actually road legal polycarb variants that just fit into the normal pod. I've put my tape across the front as well still, but that essentially means that it's not going to smash anymore, is it? Yeah. So that's basically all I've done. I'm just turning the car around again now, ready for Alton Park that's next. Just brakes, check the brakes, check fluids, a bit of a spanner check, and it's ready to go again. So it's been a mint season so far for that. And then finally, on my last talking head video, two of the Alfa Boys were not happy I didn't include parts of the wet race at Cadwell where they actually overtook me. So just for you two chaps, here they are. And there we go. So any more questions, please ask. I'm getting some really good comments on some of my race videos, people asking questions and how do you do that, or actually giving me a bit of advice, which is all mint. So long may that continue. My next video may be one that's actually more along the digital side of the project that I'm doing with the NFT world, and trying to break into sort of a different type of sponsorship where it might open the door for more people, especially in the sort of social media, digital sort of side of the world, that the younger generation, no offense, is more interested in. So my next video might be about that, but I'll figure that out. But for now, that's it. Car's running great, championship's brilliant, competition's been very good. So we'll keep on going, and next video will probably be one from Alton Park, so we'll catch you then. One more thing, completely forgot, is there is a chap called Steve Deeks who does a lot of driver interviews, things like that. For years now, he's been building up a 911 to race with us, which he's had some terrible luck with. He's actually got it out with us. So it came out to Brands where it was essentially a shakedown. Will it work? Will it not? So it was really good to see him there. What he's doing as well is there is a couple of lads who are called 3 Blind Mice Media. So search that on YouTube. They have done a kind of a follow round video of Steve preparing his car, testing it before the weekend, qualifying and the race and that sort of thing, and they're sort of releasing those in a few different videos. The first one's already out now, and the next one's going to be released soon, and it's a really good insight again into what people do, what you think, what changes you can make to a car to make a difference. It's all sort of things that you will learn over time. So experienced drivers will be able to diagnose things much quicker, but watching these sort of videos will really give you a good idea of maybe how you might be able to do it. So find them on YouTube, 3 Blind Mice Media, and have a look at their sort of latest videos. They've also got cool videos of sort of like different cars that they've done things about before, which I'm sort of catching up on at the moment, which is cool. But yeah, go and follow those, and remember to like and subscribe to the channel. I've had over 2,000 views on that Donington video and 170 subscribers. So click the subscribe button. All right, cheers.